The first known rules of golf were drawn up in 1744 by the Gentlemen Golfers of Edinburgh in Leith, Scotland. Since then the game has changed dramatically. Golf courses, equipment, and not least the rules. So where do I go when I want to learn about the rules of the game today? Well, I go to the Golf Rules Questions podcast with Blakey and Roscoe, of course. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of the Golf Rules Questions podcast. Well, hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Australia's top rating Golf Rules Questions podcast. It's the only Golf Rules Questions podcast, the only podcast that's dedicated in Australia to the rules of golf and helping you understand, get some entertainment and just be genuinely inspired by the world of golf rules. Sitting here, Roscoe here, it's a cold Melbourne wintry day. Both of us are sitting here looking at each other virtually, of course. We're still not allowed to go out of the house, basically, sitting here with beanies on. Blakey, how are you?
Well, Roscoe, yeah, in my little hut for the filming of this, and although the computer won't shut down because of the overheating, I might shut down because of being too cold. I've even got my little, well, I don't know what it is, a hiker's scarf type thing. I'll just wear it in the house.
That's your daily issue back home, isn't it? Back home in New Zealand, that's what you wear just every day, isn't it?
Actually, I was a lot tougher when I was younger. Yeah, so right. I used to walk around in shorts. Well,
I'm sure the listeners don't give a tinker's cuss that it's cold, day, night, or otherwise here in Melbourne, because you're listening from whatever part of the world you are, and hopefully you are experiencing golf and experiencing the pleasure of this wonderful game. We have a jam-packed show today. A couple of situations to run through. We've got a little bit of housekeeping from last week. Last week's episode 40 answer. An either of the commentators' version today. So that's good to see someone else other than you and me messing up the words of the English language, David. And anything else that comes up, we'll be here to cover it. So what are we going with first, Blakey?
So let's go over the answer for the GRQotW number 40. So can you reiterate what the question was?
I will reiterate what the question is and was. But firstly, I want to say thank you to the commentary around my putting on of the Scottish accent, my native tongue, my tongue that I learnt to speak the English language with the Scottish accent, thanks to my parents. I want to say thanks to the people that commented, and especially thanks to the person that thought we were South African. I thought that was, I didn't think my Scottish accent was that bad, but if you think so, tell me. If you think it was okay, tell me. Anyway, question 40. I've got my glasses on, David, as you can see, but I need a little bit more vision here to read this. Question 40. Fraser walks into the bunker that his ball is at rest in and tests the depth of the sand with his feet by digging in when taking his reasonable stance. Does Fraser incur any penalties?
Yeah, so the answer with that one is, just looking at the question, there's a couple of things you got to look at. Testing, so the word testing was in the question. So is there a penalty for what he's done to test? But he's tested, what has he tested with? He's tested with his feet by digging in when taking his reasonable stance. So was it reasonable, the amount of digging in that he did? Well, it states that it was, because it was to take take a reasonable stance. So that's okay. So does he get a penalty for testing? If you look at 12.2b, 1, deliberately touch sand in the bunker. Well, yes, he has deliberately touched the sand in the bunker with a hand, club, rake, or other object to test the condition. No, it wasn't a hand, wasn't club, rake, or other object. It was his feet. So there is no penalty under 12.2b1 for that. And as I said, it was a reasonable stance, so he was allowed to do a little bit of digging in to firmly place his feet.
So is there ever a scenario when you, by using the feet, that you may incur a penalty, like if it's unreasonable? When does it become unreasonable?
Well, yes. If it's unreasonable, this is a self-policing type game. If you're digging in to sort of level off your stance, your ball's on the slope, and you're trying to level your stance off a little bit, then that's going to be unreasonable because you're really changing the conditions that you had. You had a sideways, slopey type shot that you needed to play, and all of a sudden your feet are on the same level. Then that would be unreasonable if you've dug in so much to create that. There are going to be bunkers that have sand that's quite loose, and you stand into it or on top of it, and you slide down immediately. That wasn't any of your intention to create a level sort of stance for your conditions. So you're going to be okay. But if you get back in there and start, messing around with it, trying to really get yourself a level area to play from, that's going to be unreasonable.
Is there a difference between creating a level area as opposed to a stable area?
Yes, there is a slight difference. You can still have a stable area on the side of a hill, but it's not so much about being stable as it is about firmly placing your feet. You can firmly place your feet and be on such a slope that it, for whatever reason, whoever you are, it might be stable for someone and it might be unstable for someone else. So
I'll give you my example. So a bunker face. So in Victoria, where the sand's usually has a little bit more moisture content, I would guess, rather than that sort of sandy beach sand type bunker type scenarios that may face golfers around the other part of the world. Your ball is on the face, it's somewhat embedded, but you go up the face and you place your top foot. So in a right-hander's case, it'd be your left foot facing the direction of play, and your foot slides down, and it creates that nice little sort of step-like sort of culvert, if I'll use that word. And then, but you haven't got your right foot placed properly, and then you sort of go back up because you've slipped down a little bit. You place your foot again, you drag another sort of swipe of sand down into that, what is now forming as a step, and you do that 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 times, and then all of a sudden, you have this compacted somewhat of a step, as I just described it. Is that unreasonable that you've had 4 or 5 goes at taking this stance? You've now got a massive hole in the face. It's become a obviously more compacted area, and therefore has created like 2 steps because you've now got both. You've got your feet down, but the feet are now flat. You're not standing on an angle, you're now flat because you've scraped this sort of sand down into this step. What is that? Because I see that happen. I've seen that happen before, and I definitely, in my own mind, I never said anything, but I questioned it. I thought, is that unreasonable? Is that reasonable? I'm not sure. I wasn't sure.
Well, if your intention was to keep standing there so that you eventually got to a level type or more stable type situation, knowing that if you kept standing there, you'll slide down, there's going to be an issue. But if you did it the first time, not realizing, you're not going to have an issue straight away. You're not entitled to have a stable place to stand. The rule 8.1 B just says that you're allowed to firmly place your feet in taking a stance in a bunker, or in sand. You're allowed to firmly place your feet. So that means, it does say a little bit of digging in, but only what is reasonable. So if you keep doing it, knowing that you're going to get to a more stable position, but also a more beneficial position, that now the bunker is not what we saw the bunker to be when your ball first arrived, you're going to have a bit of an issue there.
Yeah, okay, cool. And then the other one that comes to mind that I've sort of seen before is someone buries their feet, they take, it becomes a habit, right? When you go into a bunker and it's almost habit forming now that you sort of wiggle your feet around, you get set, and all of a sudden we want to restart the pre-shot routine. So we go away, have a look at the shot, come back in, place our feet back in the existing sort of hole, and then re-go again. Is that re-go one too many times?
No, that's fine. You can walk back out and walk back in again. What is your intention? Were you deliberately doing it to walk in, create this couple of holes for your feet, go back out, come back in, create more holes to make yourself more stable? You're certainly going to know. I mean, I've seen a video of Patrick Cantlay at the Open Championship where he really digs in. The sand must be, up almost above his laces. And that's at the Open Championship. It was on video and nothing was done about that. So, I love, and, we're talking about the US Open because it starts in a couple of days. Or by the time this podcast comes out, it's probably already started. But I love the tournaments that the USGA and the R&A run, because you really get to, you get to see the line in the sand, pardon the pun. You see where they'll happily penalise someone and where they'll go, no, that's okay. We saw one last year with Lexi Thompson at the AIG British Women's Open, where she tried to move a clump of grass behind her that was growing, and the wind actually blew it back into the same position from which she had moved it from. So they didn't penalise her for that. So, if it happens at one of these tournaments where you really get to see where the greyness is and what the line in the sand has been drawn.
Well, the odds are I was going to say are back on our side, that there's going to be some rules imbroglio situations and scenarios. The rough looks pretty deep. I've seen a couple of videos where the rough is deep. It's obviously the scene of the infamous Patrick Reed incident from earlier this year or last year, whenever that was.
I think it was this year. It was the Farmers.
Yeah, the Farmers. Yeah, so could be open for a busy weekend for Blakey on the YouTube, downloading videos and republishing information.
I would say that Tory won't be as wet as it was back then, so we probably shouldn't have any embedded ball situations, but who knows?
Okay. Well, Ian Poulter posted a video and he had his ball at the side of the green and you couldn't see it until he went down and Patrick Reed style fossicked for it. Sorry, I'm going hard on Patrick Reed earlier. I should leave him alone.
Actually, talking about Ian Poulter, did you see his son the other day? He played. He played. This is off. We've gone off the notes. He played and he was playing well. I think he didn't play too well the first 10 or something. And the next 26, he played pretty well. And then he had an eagle putt of about 2 foot, bent down to mark his ball, dislocated his knee, had to have treatment from paramedics or whoever to pop his knee back in, and then he hobbled over and made the putt and, I don't know, went and iced it or something.
I think he played the remainder of the tournament, but yeah, I think he went to celebrate almost holding the eagle putt, like it lipped out or something like that, and in the celebration dislocated his kneecap and went down. And something like that.
Yeah, so the delay in play was justified. Obviously, it was through an injury, and you wouldn't really want to give them more than 10 or 15 minutes. I mean, the PGA Tour, we've talked about this before, the PGA Tour have a time limit on how much treatment or how long a time of treatment you're able to get while players being, while it's players going on. But this is a kids tournament, I realise that, but every competition should have terms of the competition in case these scenarios happen. Well done that he had an eagle. I'm definitely not taking anything away from them, but the questions were asked, well, how long does he get to have some treatment? So, that's up to the committee as to what they put in the terms of the competition.
Well, I think his name's Luke. Good luck to Luke. He's a good little player by all accounts, and loves his dad, loves going to golf, loves hanging out with the UK, the Great Britain, sorry, not the UK, not Great Britain, the European Ryder Cup team. He's had some wonderful experiences alongside his dad. Hopefully his dad can do well this week.
Do they have father-son in the Ryder Cup? Because if Luke was ever to make it, he'd have to play for the US, wouldn't he?
No, I don't believe so.
Yeah, so it's where you're born. But if you have citizenship of two countries, then you get to play. But there's a 4-year wait on the sideline type thing.
Oh, really?
I was listening to there's a plugging another podcast, but it was quite interesting listening to the no laying up one, and they went through the PGA Tour Players Handbook.
All right.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
So what about Abraham Answer? Because I believe that Abraham Answer, who represents the internationals in the President's Cup, being from Mexico, I believe that Abraham Answer might have been born in America. I could be wrong. I haven't got that in writing in front of me, but I think he was born in a little town in Texas just across the border. Well,
if that's true, then yes, he obviously has citizenship of both countries. Oh, did I say born? I meant citizenship. If you have citizenship of two countries, you can choose which either one you want.
Okay. Well, you are one of those people of citizenship with two countries, as am I. So there we go.
Yes.
Who would you represent? Who would you represent, Blakey?
That's not even a question. New Zealand.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. It's European Cup. We're digressing, but the Frasers of the world sitting over there in the UK, who avid football fans and followers. Interesting to see the European Championships at the moment. Obviously me following Scotland. The big guy up front for Scotland who didn't score playing against the Czech Republic the other day is a Gold Coast lad, born and raised in the Gold Coast, and plies his trade in Scotland, and like myself has Scottish parents, so represents Scotland. Then you flick across to the Socceroos, who are in the final stages of qualification for the next World Cup, and you go through the list of Socceroos, being Jamie McLaren, Ryan McGowan.
I was going to say, do they have any Australians in that team?
Yes, they do. Well, Jamie McLaren is Australian-born.
Weren't they all Polish, or Ryan had last name Ski back in the day?
Ryan McGowan is Australian-born, of Scottish parents. Both have played in Scotland, but so we have some Scottish Australians in both teams. There you go. Small fact. Nothing to do with golf. All those guys I just talked about love golf, however. Let's keep cracking on, David. Let's go to the young man playing in a Monday qualifier. What's his name? Tane Lee.
He won the Monday qualifier to get into the Palmetto Championship. I didn't even know they still had a Monday qualifier. That's quite interesting.
Yeah. No, still Monday qualifiers for most things, including the US Open. Lucas Herbert missed out on Monday qualifying the other week. So we won't see Herbie.
So did Ricky Fowler.
There we go. Let's play this video from Tane Lee because it created a bit of interest on the YouTubes for you, David. So let's play this one.
15. And now Lee. Doesn't have a lot of risk reward, this one. I mean, we only had 4 bogeys. 33 birdies. Certainly losing a few to the right, guys, isn't he?
It has been coming for the last little while, Nick.
Oops. That's crossed the line.
15.
Lee's going to take a drop. Able to place it now since it rolled back into the penalty area.
Right. So.
Well, this one caused a bit of a stir. I had a few people asking me about Tane Lee's drop, and Stuart was able to get the video to me pretty quickly. And once I had a look at it, I personally didn't see anything wrong with it. I've had a few comments on YouTube that he definitely threw it down into the relief area. To me, it doesn't look like that. It looks like he sort of dropped it and then had a floppy wrist afterwards. But, I could be too trusting of the guy. He might have known exactly what he was doing by dropping it or throwing it into the relief area so that it rolled into the penalty area so that he got to redrop so he could do it again and then he could place it. But I I thought that you can if it's a small slope, you can get so close to it and just normally drop it, and it was going to bounce into the penalty area anyway. So,
mate, Blakey, come on. I think to these glasses that I got on, they cost me all of $5. They're 1.0s. You might need 2.5s because he flicked that, mate. He gave that a little bit of. I was going to say Ian Chappell, but that might wind you up because Ian Chappell didn't flick anything when he bowled the underarm down to you blokes. He gave it a bit of Shane Warne, mate. Definitely gave it a little bit of finger spin. 100%.
I didn't see that at all, Roscoe.
Oh, I could be wrong. Did the YouTube fans see a bit of finger spin in there?
I'd say 80% think that he did throw it down.
The tribe has spoken. He gave that a little bit. He gave that a little bit of action.
So when you're dropping, how to get to ball back into play when you're dropping. If you're taking penalty or free relief and you've got a relief area that you need to drop into. The player must let go of the ball from a location at knee height so that the ball falls straight down without the player throwing, spinning or rolling it or using any other motion that might affect where the ball will come to rest, and does not touch any part of the player's body or equipment before it hits the ground. So that's rule 14.3 1B or something like that.
Do you know the guys? You don't know the guy that was standing beside him officiating in that thing, because he needs to read that rule. Because to me, it's pretty easy to do that, even from knee height, bending down like what your colleagues make us bend down and look like now. Drop that. Mate, he put some curry on that. No problems.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was his caddie. I don't think he got a referee involved.
Okay.
Usually those guys that are not regulars on the tour, they just do it themselves. They don't realise you need to.
Fair enough.
They don't even know. They don't usually have playing tournaments that have referees and stuff like that. And maybe if you're Mark Leishman, he doesn't care. He just does it himself. But he looks like he knows the rules.
He knows what's going on. Tane Lee gave it a little bit of action. There we go. Have we answered that question, Blakey?
Yeah, and just a side note, the ball's in play as soon as you let go of it. But whether you can play it from where it comes to rest depends on what happened to it on the way down and where it is at rest. So it's not in play once it gets at rest. It's in play as soon as you let go of it. Tane Lee, well done on making the cut after winning the Monday qualifier. Good luck to you in future tournaments. Call in a referee, I'd say.
Very good. What are we going with next? Fire ants? We're going with fire ants?
Yep. Had this one on the PGA Tour a few times, including Bubba Watson way back in about 2015 with one of Australia or Scottish Australians. No, that's incorrect. He doesn't call himself a Scottish Australian. He calls himself a Kiwi.
Who's that?
But he is from Scotland. Graham Scott, who is the chief referee on the PGA Tour of Australasia.
Very good. Well, Graham Scott, probably listening over there. Where does he live? Is he in Australia or is he in New Zealand?
Yeah, he lives in Melbourne. So,
is he one of your colleagues, or he just helps out?
Well, yeah, we've worked together alongside each other in many tournaments, and he had a similar incident with Bubba Watson about 7 years ago, something like that. So, and then Bryson last year or the year before, he had I think I've got ants around my ball. So it's something similar to that. Play the video and we'll have a look.
That's one of my other two jobs here, is pressing the button and playing the video. Thank you very much for letting me go ahead with my jobs. Thank you, David. Appreciate that.
We'll try and listen in here.
Yeah, these ants here, they're not fire ants. They're just regular ants. They just kind of run around. yeah, they're all call them sugar ants. They go around. They look for food, but they're not actual fire ants. So they don't bite. All right. Thank you. You're welcome.
Well, you got a rules official that knows his insects. That is outside the normal realm of what a rule official would have to offer, I think, but I'm impressed.
Mate, I'm sitting here giggling over the top of that, and I apologise for that because, as the commentators rightly pointed out, the level of knowledge that that particular referee had in regards to his I don't even know the right word for ants. I'm not sure if they're crustaceans or invertebrates, or I'm not. If someone will tell me what they are, but that was in-depth detail. They're just not. They're just jumping around. They're just looking for some food. They won't bite you. It's classic.
Sometimes you've just got to make shit up to bullshit your way through and tell the player that they can't get free relief. So
no, he knows. He knows his ants, that boy.
Well, I think he does anyway. In the video, it's on YouTube. The commentator reckons that you get information from the superintendent, the green staff, and and this is true. We find out when we're refereeing events, find out what kind of animals live around the area and whether they're dangerous, and whether we are going to give free relief for those situations. In Australia, where some courses in Australia, there's a lot of kangaroos. Now, kangaroos aren't that. They're pretty docile. They'd only ever attack you if they feel in danger and they can't get away. Most of the time, they're just going to hop away. They don't really don't need to waste their time trying to have a fight with you.
Word of public service announcement warning to anyone that does golf in Australia and comes across kangaroos on the course for the first time. Places like down here in the south, Anglesey, massive population of kangaroos. St Andrews Beach, very big population of kangaroos. Just don't get too close to them. Just leave them be, get a photo, do all of that, try and get a selfie, but just don't get too close to them. They are a bit docile. Late in the day, they're not going to move too quick. If you can get close, they can react, and you don't want to have a kangaroo rearing up on his tail and rearing at you with his paws, because they can do a lot of damage.
Yeah, it's very unlikely the eastern greys even the big fellas would prefer just to hop away than attack you.
There's some big boys down at St Andrews Beach. Let me tell you that. There's some big ones down there.
They're not quite the red kangaroos that are up north, but so they're a little bit less aggressive.
Well, we've gone all David Attenborough on this podcast. We've gone from fire ants to sugar ants to kangaroo safety and security. Let's keep moving on. So no drop from the no drop from the sugar ants.
No drop from the ants. It was interesting. He said these ants don't bite. Obviously, fire ants do bite and they can create serious physical injury. I'm not sure if sugar ants, he must know something a lot more than I know. I'm not sure if they don't bite or they just prefer, or they just can't bite you, or even if they do bite you, it doesn't create any kind of serious physical injury. So let's just believe what he had to say.
I wish I knew that. These rulings as a kid growing up, because on the iron sort of stony areas of Cessnock Golf Club as a kid, there are a lot of ants there, a lot of green ants and bull ants, and we'd run in and try and hit, and anyway, there we go. Next one is who we got next? The last video here.
Well, talking about fighting, it's quite interesting. In the Monday qualifier on the Korn Ferry Tour for the Wichita Open, which is starting this weekend. Two players got into a scuffle midway through their round. There was no footage of this, unfortunately. The group was behind a pace of play, and it's not exactly known who was the main cause of the delay, but one of the players had a ball search that two of them went to look for. The third player and his caddie, who was his dad, didn't bother to help. There was some words about, hey, you could have helped me search for my ball, to which I believe the dad said something along the lines of, we're not here to, look at your crappy golf. We're here to try and make it into the tournament. And then maybe some more words. And then player three, who didn't go and help search, is believed to have started the scuffle and struck the other player. There was a bit of a mess. And I stuck a question up on Instagram. Would you ever get into a physical fight over a disagreement on the golf course? Well, what's your answer to that, Roscoe?
Me personally, no. No, I'm not a fighter. I would run from violence. I joked on the Mile of Golf podcast that maybe Bryson and Brooks, and I'm not the only one to make this joke, by the way, so it's not just me, but maybe, they could turn their animosity towards each other towards some good by, having like a charity type event, maybe, put some big, thick padded gloves on and just get in the ring and slug it out for charity, for a good cause, maybe. Not in a violent... Yeah, anyway, you know what I mean. I'm joking. It's a joke, right?
Well, I was quite surprised that the comeback, yes, you would get into a fight was 30%.
Oh, really? Well,
I understand the self-defense, but that means someone has to start it. So I was quite, I thought this was a gentleman's game, but obviously.
Well, what I was going towards is I haven't been in a fight on a golf course, but I've nearly been in a team that nearly got into a fight, and it was just some cool, calm, collected heads, like myself and a few others around that just sort of poured some cold water on the situation. It was for a pennant match, and it was in the early days of GPSs. So you remember the MGI GPS, with the green, the big thing with the green antenna. One of the guys, like in the team had a GPS, and I think the local rule had come out that stated that you could use a measuring device in pennant. And we were in a match against another team in the district, and there was a bit of a standoff about the legality or the appropriateness of using a GPS. Yes, you can. No, you can't. Yes, you can. No, you effing can't. Yes, you effing can. No, you effing can't. Well, yes, you effing can. Can you see? Why don't we just sort this out the other way? It's like, hey, hold on. That's not what it's all about. Let's just go and play a pennant match, and sort of got to that.
Were they playing against each other?
It was our team versus their team. So
but were those two particular people that were having a verbal disagreement? Were they then playing against each other on the golf course?
Can't remember that part. It was a while ago. As I said, it was when those MGI things just first came out, so it was a while ago. It was back before bloody, when it was if it was when GPS first came back out, and I'm talking about it, and most people have never probably known golf without GPS that are listening to this. It was a long time ago. I can't remember. I think it was in the preamble, when the two teams face off at the start. Hello, gents. Thanks for coming. Mornington v. whoever. Here it is. And he's standing there with his thing, and you can't use that. Yes, I can. No, you can't. Yes, you can. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, got sorted out.
Wow. Right.
We won.
Yeah, I can't even imagine having a fight on the golf course. What is such a massive? What could cause such a massive blow? But you've just provided one example.
But you see, well, I don't know if you see it all the time, but there's loads of videos on YouTube with people getting into barneys.
Does that mean golfers open up to new audiences, or is it just people have a lot of rage these days, or is it cameras?
It's
the footage is getting caught. It's always been there. It's just now we're getting to see it.
I think there's always been the occasional little bit of animosity on a golf course, but I've never really experienced any violence, any blows on a golf course in all my years in and around it. That was the closest, and it was I embellished it a little bit, but yeah, obviously on video it happens. So anyway, it's just another part of human nature, human behaviour. You put a group of humans together, and you see all sorts of behaviours and types and personalities, and it just takes the two wrong personalities to come together in a situation to inflame it, and ding dang do. Box on.
That's not supposed to be golf. I mean, golf, you're supposed to be,
it's the last
your, considerate towards your others, and work it out.
It's the last place you'd expect it to turn up and happen, but obviously has, because it's there in front of us. But please don't. As I say, I joke about Bryson and Brooks, sorting out their differences. Not the only one to joke like that, but other people have got in the ring for good causes to sort some stuff out and raise some money for great charities, pay-per-view type thing. But if they want to sort it out another way and raise some money, good on them. But the PIP is helping them sort it out $40 million for them getting all their likes and shares and subscribes, and if one of them can win the US Open, good luck to them. Anyway,
I see. The USGA asked Bryson's manager about whether he'd like to be put in the same group as Brooks, and the answer came back no.
Why did they ask that question?
Well, they didn't, otherwise they have a big problem on their hands, because these managers or players will just be like, this is absolute crap. And also, he's the reigning champion. You don't really want to, or defending champion, you don't really want to piss the defending champion off that much, do you?
Yeah, but don't they know that that's just not going to happen? It's not going to fly. Why do they have to ask? Would you prefer us not to? If the they can obviously do it. So why would they even ask the question? What they just say, let's not put Brooks and Bryson together. The fans might want it, but let's just let everyone play golf. Why would they even have to ask? That's silly.
Well, I guess they thought that it'd be great promotion, but obviously the players are
fair enough
are actually at war with each other or hate each other now. So
that's pretty clear.
Yeah, so
fair enough.
It's gone past this natural ribbing. Maybe in 25 years' time or 30 years' time, they'll look back and go, that we were just two stupid people, but young people. But now at the moment, it's no way. I don't even want to see that person. It's almost like put me on the opposite end of the draw. There will be a time when they both finish on the same number and they're the only two people on that number or whatever, and they have to be put together. I'd really be interested to see if they, the tournament changes and just goes, no, those two aren't playing together.
It'll either go one or two ways. They'll get up onto the tee for the 18th hole playoff and whatever else, and one will put his hand out, one won't shake it. Or one will put his hand out and the other one will shake it. They won't talk to each other. They'll get on. Someone will win. They'll shake it at the end and walk off. Or they won't shake it, and, the world will keep revolving around Brooks v. Bryson. Yeah.
Yeah, the big story.
You know what? Let's just play some golf, and hopefully someone interesting wins, and, we see a great round of golf, 4 great rounds of golf. We see it close. We see a close field. We see, some beautiful scenery and, commentators not making mistakes, David, and that's where we're going right now. Let's have a listen to this, and you can talk us through this one, right?
You put a huge green out there, everybody's going to be able to hit it. Everybody's going to have an opportunity for eagles. And when you have the undulations and different little subtletiness of it, it requires you hit an absolute perfect shot.
I feel bad for calling this one out, because I make this mistake all the time. I add a ness or a ouse or a ism to words, but I thought stuff it all. I'll throw them under the bus because it make me feel better. Well, subtletiness.
It's a long bow that you've had to trawl the interwebs for to find him. The poor fella who I don't even recognise his voice. Calling subtletiness, but obviously you've done your research and you've thesaurus that and anonymed that and whatever else, and realised that it's not a word. Ivor, the great Ivor, who listens to the podcast religiously and gives us detailed feedback about misappropriate use of words, he would have been equally chuffed that you've pointed that out. So well done to you, Blakey. You're a wordsmith.
Thank you. Subtleness.
Still can't get it out. All right. What are we going with next, mate? What's on the next?
You missed. We were talking about the US Open, and I just wanted to bring up a couple of rules situations that are quite famous, actually. They changed. Well, one changed the rule was
back to 15
because of the rule was changed because of, whereas the other one sort of changed the perception of the person who made that mistake. The first one was Dustin Johnson, when the ball moved on the green after he had ever so slightly grounded his club. And back then the penalty was that actually changed it from the year before and said if you are known to have caused the ball to move, then you get penalised. And so he, ever so slightly had either put his club behind the ball or beside the ball, and the ball definitely moved, and they said because you did an action and then the ball moved, it was definitely you that caused it to move. And luckily that infraction didn't cause him to lose the tournament. He actually continued on and won the tournament. And then they've changed it to what it is now, which is if you ground your club beside your ball on the putting green and it moves, did I accidentally do it or did I deliberately do it? If you've accidentally done it, which is most likely the case, then you just replace the ball, no penalty.
And what was the other scenario that you wanted to reference?
Well, this was a huge one. Phil Mickelson. I can't remember. I think this was 3 years ago. It was 2018. I think it was before the rule changes, where he was putting down towards the hole, and it got past the hole. Looked like it was picking up speed, and he ran after or jogged after it, and just gave it a little tap backwards towards the hole. And everyone was flabbergasted by what he had done, and he incurred the general penalty. He sort of came out in the press, with a statement, I knew what I was doing, and I just was a bit sick of the ball, how quick the greens were or whatever. But really, and we've talked about this before, really, if he just let it roll off the green, he could have taken an unplayable, placed his ball back where he last played from for a one-stroke penalty, and then he might have held it and saved 2 shots rather than what he ended up with.
I think that was at Shinnecock, was it not?
Yeah. Okay. Was that 2018?
I think so. Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, cool. He had the brace and bits by that stage of what was happening. So that was a bit of an explosion, and I think that was the start of his, resurgence. I think he tried to had to rebuild some credibility. Maybe that's not the right way to frame it, but that's when we saw him change his media personality and profile and start to get a little bit more engaging with the Phil that we probably didn't know, but if we did know, we would have loved. And now we see a little bit of the fun side of Phil, and good luck to him, because he's obviously thinking in the right way now, not the wrong way, and that's helped his golf. So good. Looking forward to seeing Phil play the local boy this week, and it's going to be good.
Yeah, I don't think he'll win, but good luck to him. After his win at the PGA, I've never been warm towards Phil. I didn't really like him, but after his win, and as you said, what he does with his fans and how he embraces the media, it's actually getting pretty funny. So good on you, Phil. Okay, and what's next? What do we got next, Blakey? My little laptop thing here's gone off. That's got the run sheet on there. So I'm the run sheet guy now. I'm fully hosting this thing, am I? Background bingos, Roscoe. What was yours last week?
Mine last week. Did anyone get it?
No.
Lonsdale Links. That was the hole with the church pew, the Oakmont style church pew bunkers. That I think you found that, or maybe no. I found it because I drove you by 50. No, I'm not sure. Can't remember.
No, I think I fatted that one on that hole.
So yeah, Lonsdale.
No, I hit 3 wood and I hit it in the right, didn't I? Sorry, someone did. Anthony, Big P had a go at it, and he missed it the first time because he thought it was the church pews. He thought it was the church pews of Oakmont, and I said somewhere a little bit more local, and he got it the second time. Yep. So good on you, Big P.
Very good. And then
mine was the Olympic Club, where the tournament for the Women's US Open was held the week before, so he ended up getting that one as well. So this week mine's a no-brainer. Once again, if you jump across to ross.flanagan.golf and follow me over there, I'd really appreciate it. Just trying to go on a bit of a followers drive at the moment, so ross.flanagan.golf, follow me over there. The answer is over there on that Instagram page, but it's a bit of a no-brainer. You can also follow me at My Love of Golf, very simple, at My Love of Golf, for the whole podcast family journey, which this podcast is one of. Please follow me over there.
you would do me a massive favour.
Yeah, you should promote it on some of those accounts that have been asking you to promote it.
Well, what's that? Can you explain that to me, please? I don't know.
Well, they're
bots, obviously.
Bots. So they're bot comments. So anytime someone puts a certain word into their post, the bot will say, "Oh, we need to add a comment in."
Yeah.
So it's pretty filthy.
Yeah, I understand. I deleted it. But what sort of word would they be botting on about? Like golf? Like
podcast, tour, I don't know. Like,
right. Oh, there you go.
Maybe they just use any word and they just try and bot everyone.
If anyone,
and then you go across and go, yeah, sweet, I'll promote it, and they go, oh, you have to give me $700.
Yeah, no, I'm savvy to the fact that it's rubbish, so I deleted it straight away. But if you are genuine out there, follow me along, and that'd be great. That's my dogs barking at their mum coming home.
Yeah, so yours, if you want to find out Roscoe's, just go to his Instagram, whereas mine is, well, that's really easy. It's another easy one. I went to the Northern Hemisphere last week for the first time, and possibly there again.
Well, that's Nessie. She's a little black dog. She's a little tiny little dog.
Was your dog having a guess at what my background bingo was?
No, she was saying, "Come on, mate, you've had me locked in here for long enough now. Get me out of here." No, I think it's Mrs. My Love of Golf coming home from a hard day at work.
Right. Well, we're on to, we're nearly finished. You can tell Nessie that we're nearly finished. So GRQotW41. This is basically what everyone waits for. They just want to know what the GRQot of the week is. So Roscoe, if you could do the honours.
We've kept them waiting long enough, 47 minutes just to get to the point of the whole podcast. Is that what you're saying, David? Okay, this is a true or false.
I do love it.
I'm not sure if you've done a true or false before, but true or false. If it's not physically possible to drop the ball in any part of the identified relief area, the player is not allowed relief from the condition. True or false? Let me do it again, because I like that sort of head movement that I did. True or false? GRQotW, episode 41. If it is not physically possible to drop the ball in any part of the identified relief area, the player is not allowed relief from the condition. True or false? There you go.
Great question, that.
I like the true or false. Do you do any true or false things over on your other little question areas that you do, your YouTube? What a joke. You're making people follow you on YouTube now, taking them off Instagram and getting them, as a ruse to get them over to the YouTube. The shame.
Absolutely, I've copped it this week.
The shame, telling shameless behaviour. Shameless behaviour. The thinking that a poor young man who has dedicated 30 odd years of his life to applying the rules of the trade for the betterment of the game and the people who play it might want to get someone from an Instagram page to a YouTube page where he can make $1.75 a month for getting YouTube views. Outrageous behaviour, David.
You soon find out who your supporters are and your friends are, I tell you that. But, I've thought about it. I'm going, it's been 5 or 6 years now since I started, and it's been great, and it's a passion of mine. So you keep doing it and you keep pounding along. But, at one point in time, you get to that point in time and you go, I want to make it better. How do I make it better? Well, that requires some investment. So all I'm really wanting is support to invest to make it better, so that people can have more options and more opportunities to learn the rules of golf.
And you're not even
really what it comes down to.
And you're not even talking the cost of a cup of coffee. I'm sure if you put on there, buy me a coffee, you'd get a couple of hundred people that would buy you a coffee because they would love nothing more than to see you prosper like that. And so there you go. Sign up to the YouTube. Sign up to the email.
As I said, like I've had a few leave me, which is fine. That they're totally free to do that. But a lot more people have stayed, and the YouTube subscribers continue to go up. So we'll keep pushing on, and find as I said, better ways to engage and make, help people educate them on the rules of golf so they can stay out of any fracas.
This hat, I've got it turned away from the camera, but this hat has a badge on it, which is the badge of one of the big golf companies. If you want your name on this badge that I can turn it around the right way, I'm open. I'm open to, you could pay for Blakey for that cup of coffee and get your personal name, not company name, but I'll put your name here on the front, and I'll say this segment's brought to you by John from Texas.
John O
from Texas. There you go. Just for the price of not too much, whatever. I'll leave the price open, but if you want to get on the hat or the beanie, talk to us. We're open. Blakey?
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Nice beanie. Let's see what you can deliver in the beanie department next week. I've beanied up as well. It's unusual for me, but this no-haired bonce is cold in this winter. I look forward to seeing you next week on the golf course. Are we catching up on the golf course next week?
Yeah, we're going to try with our friend Henry. So we'll see how we go.
Crazy times. All right. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Golf Rules Questions podcast. Until then, stay real.